Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the B Team podcast, brought to you by Jackrabbit Illustrated, part of the Splitting Hairs podcast group. We are on the FCS Fans Nation podcast network, and we are happily brought to you by our title sponsors, Cottonwood Coffee and Bistro in Brookings, South Dakota, as well as Drake's Place in Bowdle, South Dakota. And we are extremely excited to welcome on our newest title sponsor, Dakota Iron Equipment in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, for all your construction, trucking, heavy duty needs. Go to them, West 12th Street in Sioux Falls. Thank you so much for jumping on board, John. I appreciate it. This is awesome. We're really excited to have you.
So yeah, they're a heavy equipment dealer, and I hadn't heard of them before, so it's cool to be able to talk about them and kind of get their name out there. I went to their website. You can buy anything from like a $10,000 skid loader up to like a $250,000 like
tractor,
scraper and stuff. Like I mean, they got it all. So yeah, definitely check them out if you need that type of equipment.
And they got a great network of contacts and can find you what you need. So.
Yep. And if you're going anywhere, I mean, if we're down to the, $10,000 skid loaders, I mean, if you got needs for just a small acreage, head down there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Get you handled. So anyways, that's our big exciting news from last weekend. Maybe a little more exciting than the game.
Jim's already in Brookings.
Jim is in Brookings. Wow, he's
gearing up for the USD game.
You know what they say, when you're a state worker, you can work from anywhere because,
Spoken like one who would know. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So coming off the Western Illinois game, obviously it's USD week. We'll get to that in a bit here, but
probably most of it.
Yeah, most of it. We'll recap the Western Illinois game though. As Chad and Matt kind of talked about, it was a good win. It just wasn't as good as it should have been. Just based on like the number of points that Western Illinois had been giving up, and how we wanted our offense to kind of get really a rhythm going. Watching it back, it wasn't as bad as it felt live.
Right.
Because live, it felt like, geez, we're just not pulling away from this team. We should be killing them. And then watching it back, it's like, we were actually beating them pretty easily, and we were kind of coasting.
Well, yeah, even when Chad and I were standing there in the stands, he was like, man, we can't run the ball for anything. And it was the first quarter, and I looked, and I'm like, it kind of feels that way. And I was looking at the scoreboard anyway, staring at stats, and it pops up 50 yards of rushing, and it was 3/4 of the way through the first quarter. And I think, it wasn't a satisfying win. I think because we all expected 50, 60 points, just to blow their doors off. They're still a Valley team. I mean, they still have scholarships, over on that side of the ball. But you could tell what they wanted to do was get Isaiah going. We got Mark going last week, and then we got Isaiah going this last game. And it worked out. You okay, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, how fun was that first drive when they came out and like just ran Isaiah Davis like 6 or 7 times in a row until he punched it in?
Right.
Talk about setting a tone.
And
proving
you
a
heard
point.
Lujan on the coaches show say that wasn't the plan. It wasn't part of the script, but it was working well, so they didn't want to go away from it. So, kudos to riding that hot hand, so to speak.
Yeah, well, and that's something that we wanted to see from the offensive line too, is just a little bit of run blocking. It's something that they needed to work on, which interestingly enough, pass protection had been really good, run blocking not so much. This game was kind of the opposite. They started to road grade a little bit and kind of started to let some guys through on pass pro, which, and maybe that's, maybe their emphasis was run blocking going into this one. And they just, they had that in their mind that they were going to bulldoze these guys, and they just started to kind of miss some on pass protection. But definitely want to see that cleaned up because Mark had a lot of pressure in his face on a lot of those throws.
Yeah, he did. But when you look at it, this line in an offensive line as a group, we've talked about they're a group for a reason, and we talk about them as a group. You can't talk about one guy. They're all work together. Zimmer brought up, he had asked Mason during practice this week, looks like you guys are starting to gel. And he said, yeah, we're really starting to come together. And that's where you can see good offensive lines evolve into great offensive lines by the end of the season. As long as we keep seeing steps forward as we go, I think that's the most important thing. And I mean, getting one back 200 yards rushing, we had 270 some rushing yards on the game. I mean, that's a great thing to see. And I almost wonder when you look now, because we're used to high flying, explosive, big point scoring offenses. And we got to remember, we got a new offensive coordinator. And it's possible some of this, not saying we don't want to hit the big play, but the offense is designed a little bit less for the big play, but more to control the game. I mean, even the Iowa game, we barely lost time of possession, and we dominated it in the last 3. And that helps our defense look awesome. Luan brought it up in the Stig show, as Chad reminded me here before the show. I mean, that's a huge deal. And if you think about the way that those guys up north have done it, it's been that. Yeah, their offense never looks great in the beginning of the season, and then it evolves. Their offensive line gets better and better, and they control the pace of game and have a great defense. So overall, I'm really happy with where we're sitting right now, is the point I'm getting at.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned time of possession. It was absolutely dominant. I don't have the box score up, but I mean, it had to be super lopsided.
It was like 42-12 or something.
Yeah, it was insane. I don't think I've ever seen time of possession that high. It was 43 minutes of that we held the ball. It was that's nuts.
That is just insane. So yeah, I mean, that was awesome to see. Davis obviously was getting into form. You could definitely tell this is the best he's looked this year. And Amar Johnson was looking pretty good, but Angel Johnson, by the way, and I know Matt's been beating that drum, and I'm on board now, man. Like that guy has a burst that
he does.
He's really shifty.
It's a different type of speed than it's a change of pace, right? And Amar Johnson is a change of pace from Isaiah Davis, but even for Angel's another change of pace on top of that, which is right. I mean, it's awesome to start to have that depth. I mean, that's another thing that NDSU has all the time is just a stable of running backs. They can keep running guys out there. So it'll be fun to watch Angel develop this year. I think we'll see by the end of the season. I think he's demanding, 5 to 7 carries a game probably, just because he's got that burst to him. And then especially going into next season, it'll be fun to see how he develops.
Yeah, if you compare like Amar and Angel, Amar's fast, but Angel's lightning. That kid can fly.
Yeah,
it's from 0 to 60 right now, and he is going. And we saw a little bit of that in the Davis game in the first carry he had outside of the fumble. I hope they gradually start working him in a little more and a little more, like Matt had talked about on the A team. I mean, man, that kid can go.
Yeah, I think Amar's more polished. He's definitely can kind of read things better, but Angel barely has to read things. He just runs by the dudes.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Speaking of that, I do have a comment. I would really love to see Isaiah go back to the just hammer the hole. I think he could have got a couple extra yards if he did that. He's bouncing left to right a little bit more, which is maybe a great thing overall. But, what he did well when he started off was just, running over people and just going for it. And I don't know, maybe that's a bad take, but I'd like to see him just, make a decision and run over somebody.
Yeah, I agree. He that was his calling card, right? Like he was when Pierre Strong was breaking long ones, Isaiah Davis was running over dudes. I think we'll see more of that as the season goes on. I think we saw a little more of that in this game when he was finishing out runs. He was finishing them really well and running over guys. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't, there's not too much to say with the Western Illinois game other than I think from our standpoint, we were hoping to see guys in the back and our backups in sooner or for the second half. Just didn't develop that way. In the end, it was still a dominant victory. I mean, it is what it is. It's just not quite what we were ideally hoping for.
Right.
But what are you do? Not every game goes that way.
Right. The last Corey Caraway says Western Illinois ran 4 plays in the third quarter, which is crazy.
Time of possession is pulled up there if you want to see it.
There you go. Time of possession, 41 minutes for SDSU, 18 minutes for Western Illinois, which is super lopsided.
Yeah.
I did want to mention on the defensive side, Adam Bach just continues to be a stud. Like if he's not a finalist for the Buchanan, I'm going to be pissed. Like that guy he's incredible. He is absolutely incredible. The ground he can cover for some of the tackles he makes, middle linebackers should not be making that play. I mean, he's chasing dudes down around the edge out by the sidelines that are fast players, and he's running them down. It's just Looney Tunes.
And at the same time, he's in the backfield.
Right. Yeah.
I don't understand. There was one play where it was a kind of a slower developing run play, but like he read it so well. It was not a blitz. He read it, shot past an offensive lineman and tripped up the running back. Like the running back had no chance.
Right.
It's unfair sometimes, like how good he is and how quickly he gets to the ball. Speaking of speed, Jason Freeman, like that kid, holy, like the closing speed on that guy.
Right.
Like when he sees a tackle and he can go, like, man, that guy is just lightning quick to the ball. I think he's got a little.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Chad.
Stick said that exact same thing during the coaches show. Is the closing speed is what makes Bach so dangerous, and that Freeman shows the exact same thing, and that's what makes him so good.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think he's got a little polishing to do on like sound tackling, like if a guy's straight up with him, but that'll come. It's just I don't know. It's exciting to see just how deep we are, and then McGoy too, like in coverage.
Yep.
That guy looks really good. I mean, he looks like a D-back out there, covering some tight ends and wide receivers. So.
I do want to bring up Ryan Drake's comment here. He says he's talking about Isaiah here. He says he's being a little too much Pierre, not enough Isaiah, which is similar to Zenner in my opinion. And yeah, I think that sums it up really well. Isaiah is more of a one cut up the field back, and there was times. I mean, even last year we were talking about Pierre where he was a little too hesitant at hole. Even for Pierre's style, where he was the ultra patient back, where Isaiah, his strength is just, like you said, make a decision and go. And yeah, Ryan sums it up exactly how that is.
And I say just follow 60.
That was awesome. When that first play, when he got the personal foul called on that Western Illinois guy, that right in front, I watched it happen. It was awesome.
Yeah, we got away with it a little bit there.
No, not really. I don't think so.
He was just finishing his block.
I'd have done the same thing.
over the Clark Drew construction sign or whatever.
Yeah. Hey man,
whistle blow?
It's not his fault. The sign's
3 yards out of the play.
That's the tough shit rule. If the guy wants some sympathy, if he wants sympathy, he can go in the dictionary. It's right between shit and syphilis.
Dude, that's priceless.
Quote of the pod.
That's what my father used to tell me all the time.
To answer Jim Poppin, Freeman did come from that AIA.
Yes.
They talked about on the A team. I don't remember what.
Nazarene.
Nazarene.
Olivet Nazarene.
Olivet Nazarene. Yep.
And don't try to pronounce the name of the town because you're going to butcher it, and Deb Gronowski is going to learn us all.
She'll teach us.
Last thing I'll say about the Western Illinois game was I liked seeing Dustman not on kickoffs. Yep. Green handled him just fine. I think we should continue that. Let Dustman focus on punting and kicking field goals. However, our field goal unit has some work to do. There's something wrong, and I have faith that they'll fix it because when you watch those back, like there's clearly something wrong. Like there's a guy coming off the edge way too fast, way too free, and was getting almost a block every field goal. And whether it's a slow developing kick or wrong set, like not wide enough sets, something's wrong. But it was worrisome.
Well, Brendan called it out in the middle of the game, so go ahead, man.
Yeah, the one that was blocked, there was just Dustman was super slow, and I don't know if that was because he saw something with the hold or whatever. I didn't watch it back and see if maybe the hold was slow getting down, but he just did not. It was a really slow timing to get to that. But I think the bigger issue is when you go back, I think it all goes back to the Missouri State game. They found a weakness that they liked, exploited it, and were successful. Well, once that happens, every defense is going to try to exploit that same weakness. So it's kind of an art. You got to cover that up. But if you cover that up too much with something else, what are you giving up on the other deal? And I'm wondering if, because they got through the inside on that, our guys were a little too focused on and too worried about just shutting that down and forgot that other responsibility. So, and on your extra points in your special teams, a lot of times you have young guys. So that's sometimes an experience thing. Hopefully, like you said, I think it's going to get ironed out.
But it has to. Those things can change a game. Whether it's a blocked extra point, blocked field goal. It's points that should be a gimme sometimes. And if you don't do it right, it has a chance to really affect a game.
Especially coming up into a game like the game we've got against USD here, where it's a rivalry emotional game, and a blocked extra point matters and changes some momentum, but a blocked extra point in a game like that means so much more because there's so much more emotion in those games, especially from the USD sideline. There's going to be gobs of emotion coming from those guys, absolutely gobs of emotion, because we'll get into that in a bit. But
you're talking about from the players, because there aren't going to be that many fans there.
Their fan is going to show up.
Yeah, that's true.
Their fan.
Yeah. I hope they do. I hope they show up. And
we're getting watched by the Podfather. Dad's watching. We have to behave. He's watching. He says, Matt Tollison says, and now that it's on tape, people will be coming after him more. Yep, for sure. 100%. Since the Podfather is watching, we should probably bring up our Cottonwood Coffee and Bistro promo that's going on. You can order Cottonwood Coffee and Bistro online, and all online orders, with some exceptions. You can get 10% off your order by using the promo code JI22, capital J, capital I, the number 22 after it, or your local Minnesota Walmart if you are unfortunate enough to live in Minnesota. So
that and our other title sponsor, Drake's Place, which we mentioned earlier. But
yes.
I saw
the man, the myth, the legend. He's bringing. He's going to be bringing some
comment earlier.
Pulled pork sandwiches or something. Hold on, I'll get there. It was like one of the first comments. He's going to be making a smaller version of the pulled pork griller for tailgating, which I'm going to have to try because that.
Yep.
If you've had Ryan's food, or Drake's Place food, that's going to be a must-have. So I am going to have to try that. Break away from the tailgate and run up there and try some.
Just make sure there's enough for all of us.
No, I'm going to be very selfish this time.
It's just silly to be able to get that good of food from a convenience store. Like
it's ridiculous. Yeah,
like it should be illegal, but
yeah,
you're doing it. You're breaking down walls. Right?
They're the unicorn. Nice. They're the unicorn.
Absolutely
the unicorn.
Well, that is, I think, all we need to say about the Western Illinois game. Yeah.
Right. Yep. And I'm not giving the Rev his comment any shine because he's a brat, and that's what I see how he treats us after. He guessed on our show last week. We make a big deal about his comments on the show. He ends up on the goddamn preview video, and then he tells us to suck it. What a weenie, this guy.
Yeah, he says we're second fiddle to the wax sun for Go Jacks football. I don't think so.
This is upsetting, and I need to talk to somebody about this. We need to be the ones on there because we're much more specialer than the Rev.
Hey, Rev, I want to talk to your supervisor.
That was just for you, Ben.
What's that?
No.
Is there chocolate milk?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm about to
The refill.
Crack myself another White Claw.
God,
Yeah,
this is a lawless,
we
lawless
like you too,
podcast. we like you. We love you, Rev. I guess if I have to.
All right. Well,
just send me some free oil and we'll call it swear.
The wife and I are going to be staying in this hotel with him here for the national title game. So
nice.
Hopefully, he doesn't power bomb me in my sleep again.
That's
a
a
thing
funny
that
story.
happened, and that is yeah, that was an event.
Insider content right there.
Yeah, that's an inside joke. Maybe if we put up the GI Insiders Patreon, we'll tell those stories and really be all that wild. But Ron Loney says, I drink chocolate milk to calm my stomach. No, I drink regular milk to calm my stomach. Coincidentally,
he drinks chocolate milk because it's delicious.
Because it is joy in a glass.
I will say I did mix myself a nice. Do you normally get the pre-made stuff? You're not a powder guy?
Powder sucks.
Dude, powder
it's not.
Nesquik powder is so good.
Stop.
It is.
How about a Yoo-hoo?
That is Nesquik. I don't like Yoo-hoo either.
If you mix it really good.
I'm actually kind of sad on this one because this
amazing.
is 1%, and I usually get the whole. And I mean, now that is amazing. The whole milk chocolate.
Because you're a growing boy and you need whole milk.
Hey, you know what? I don't break bones. I have strong bones
of your own.
Well, whatever.
Right.
It is what it is.
Corey Caraway says he thinks the first drive against WIU was more power and that's why Isaiah was running downhill. So
right,
it's possible. Well, maybe we'll see more of it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We were talking about the lone coyote fan showing up and all that stuff. Ticket sales are flying, by the way. I don't know if you guys checked.
Yeah, if you don't,
there's going to be a lot of people there. It's going to blow away the first 3 games.
So like 18,000, you think?
We might end up
by now. You should probably buy them.
We might end up with 3 times more people in the stadium than USD's had walked through the doors of the Dakota Dome this year in a one game.
Oh, for shade.
Shade. That's a shame. I'm sure their fan will be upset when he hears that. I got told to change my name on Twitter, which was hilarious. So that's why. That's why, by the way, Brendan, because his name's Brendan. So he said, "Change your name."
Well,
all I did was look at attendance numbers, do some very simple math because I was able to figure it out, and pointed out that USD has had less people walk through their front doors of the Dakota Dome in both games combined than we have had in the Dana at any one time this season. And they were upset. Like, that's a YP, bud. I'm not the one not showing up for your games. That's talk to your fans. That's like, and we. The funny thing is they made fun of us for building the Dana too big, and now we're starting to fill it. And they actually made the Dakota Dome smaller, and they're still not filling it.
Sucks when the facts hurt your feelings.
Right. Anyways,
there are not very many tickets left. I'm just looking at the seating.
Yeah, my hips don't lie, man. I looked earlier this morning, and there will be the threat of not being able to get a walk-up ticket.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there'll be
the possibility, and it's not going to be Coyote fans. Right. I can't imagine if they're barely pulling over 6K in their own barn. I have a hard time believing that they're going to be 30% of the crowd. It's going to be straight Jackrabbit fans.
You'd be surprised though.
The one game a year they show up for.
I would be surprised.
Wastewater treatment plant down in Vermilion.
A friend of the pod, Matt Zimmer, was doing his Twitter spaces with other friend of the pod, Zach Borg. They do this Twitter space called Show. I don't know if you guys have seen it. They put it on Borg's Twitter. They talked about that, and they said they've never been there at the game in Brookings where there's been even enough USD fans to fill one section.
Right.
And they're not wrong.
My point
I don't know why that would change now.
That it seems like they care more about SDSU playing them than they
there's
do.
no seams about it.
Than they do about USD football in general.
Chad, while we're talking, could you quick run to their roster and pull up Carson Camp's bio so we could show a thing? Because this is an important thing. I actually do believe this is a very important thing outside of being a smartass.
There's no
this
way.
game. Go to Carson Camp's bio. This game is not only their Super Bowl, which it is, and it's proven in Carson Camp's bio, but also if they lose this game, they're done. Like they can kiss the playoffs goodbye. They're not running the table. And with the way the rest of the country looks right now, you're not getting in, or the Valley itself, because the bottom of the Valley is not good enough to be quality enough wins for you to get in at 6-5. You just won't. You can play a hard schedule and go 6-5, but those 6-5 teams that make it from the Valley have wins over one of the top teams. Like UNI beat us the one year they made it when they were 6-5. So they are going to be playing with all sorts of crazy motivation and desperation, and it's hard to match the desperation of a team like that. We've seen it when we played UNI. But this is Carson Camp's bio. The whole thing starts at, we'll go down in Kyle Lore as the man who threw the Hail Mary to beat the 4th-ranked South Dakota State 23-20 on senior day inside the Dakota Dome on 11/13, which, by the way, can I point something out? Not only is my face stuck to this stupid goddamn highlight my entire life, that was my freaking birthday. But
what highlight are you talking about?
Their stupid Hail Mary. They panned into the crowd, got my face and Chad's face, and then the highlight. And it's our stupid faces attached to that. Oh, why? Really? You got it up, huh? Yeah, it's this. I'm on the commercial. And yeah,
there he is. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that
guy right there.
Just dead sexy. Wearing my bibs. And then it's attached to this. I don't need to see anymore, Chad. That's good. We know how that commercial ends. Really?
Well, so
do you know how many times that pops up on my Twitter feed and I have to watch that stupid Hail Mary? But my point is,
watch it all the way through?
I can't help it. I'm a masochist. But my point is, if you look at Carson Camp's bio, 3/4 of his entire bio for the year 2021 is about that one play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, tell me that a game's your Super Bowl without just printing posters that say it's your Super Bowl.
Right.
It goes all the way down to 4-5. It's crazy. Like, I've never seen a team put that much emphasis on one game before. It truly is their Super Bowl.
Yeah. And I actually did want to show that play just to make it hurt a little more, because I feel like it's important to stay motivated based on, like if there's not enough motivation that they've beat us twice in the last couple matchups, and then like to have it happen like that, I think we need to stay focused on this game, because they're 1-3, but they're still a decent football team.
Yeah,
and like you said,
that coming in.
Yeah, it's their Super Bowl. Like they get up for this game more than any other game in the season, and so we need to, stay up for this one, and we can't. I'm almost. If there's a silver lining about that happening last year, it's that this season it didn't turn into a trap game before the NDSU game.
Right. Because
that happened, there's no way this is a trap game. We're not looking ahead to NDSU at this point.
No.
We're completely focused on USD and whooping their asses.
Well, on the show that Zim was talking about, he said he asked everybody about it, and McCormick was like, "Dude, I can't get away from that play. It's on the TV every 5 seconds." So I don't think we need to worry about their motivation. But if you want some extra motivation, Jackrabbit fans, I listened to John Thayer's radio show where he was talking to Coach Nielsen, and the interesting thing to me that I don't know if he meant to say this, but he definitely inferred it on accident probably, but he brought up how they asked, "Hey, do you practice outside for games that are outside or inside, or how's that work?" And he said, "Well, for this game we're practicing where it's outside. If it's going to be a noisy environment, we'll practice inside, but this weekend we're going to practice outside as much as we can."
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
Jackrabbit fans.
There's the challenge.
Yeah. Challenge accepted. You need to be as whacked out as me and Chad are, and just let's see how many false starts we can count. And maybe we put up a challenge. If we as the crowd give away, let's say we cause like four false starts. If we induce 4 false starts as a fan base, from there we'll give away. I'm going to give away a Jackrabbit Illustrated hoodie to somebody.
Nice. And I'll buy a shirt
from one of my followers on Twitter randomly, and we'll do some giveaways through a randomizer, or we'll figure out how we're going to get people entered for it. But
I'll do a shirt. You'll do a sweatshirt.
Yeah,
and got a hat.
Yes, and
sure.
Speaking of
put it on my
giveaways and fun things, not to take away from the USD game and the look ahead or anything like that, retain the Rock tailgate. There's still spots open, $150. Okay, folks. To just reiterate, we're going to be doing a live podcast on site. It gives you a bus ride. You can drink booze on the way up. Get up there. We're going to tailgate at Buffalo Wild Wings. They got a big tent for the outside as well, so we can actually like tailgate outside under a tent. Some food's going to be provided. You'll have to buy your own drinks, but who cares? I buy my own drinks anyways because I'm not 20 anymore. But on top of that, the bus will be stopping in Watertown to pick up people. So if you are from the Watertown area and wanted to stop in Watertown, Thomas texted me after the A-Team podcast about this, and let me just pull up exactly where in Watertown we are going to be stopping.
I think it's the Granary.
We're going to be stopping at Stones.
Yeah.
I assume if you're from Watertown, you know where Stones is. Is that the big truck stop?
That's the Tesoro, the Granary right along the interstate.
The Tesoro?
Yeah.
Cool. Right on. So
the restaurant's called the Granary. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on the east side of the interstate, right?
So, yes.
I think the youngins are in.
Cool. We got the youngins in. It's awesome. So there are some spots available. We need to sell this bad boy out. The itinerary is on there. If you don't know where to go to register, just Google Retain the Rock Tailgate. It'll be your first hit right on there. Go ahead, get yourself signed up. Maybe, drive if you're driving over from, say, Bowdle, stop at Drake's Place and get yourself a sandwich in the morning, and then meet us there at 7.
For sure.
Thomas says the last day to register is this Friday. Let's fill the stands and make a difference. And Thomas did mention to me this is the most tickets that a SDSU group has ever been able to get their hands on. We're basically going to be another full section next to where our visiting fan tickets are that we get from NDSU. So we're adding like another almost section or something with this. So it is awesome.
That is awesome. And that $150 is such a deal. I just calculated how much it would cost me gas to drive up there. It would cost me $100 in gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've made that drive a lot. It's $100 bill every time.
Even more if you're paying for fuel in a diesel truck.
Right. Yeah. We've all made that mistake.
Or just me.
Nice job, Jim. Jim's got the link for you and everything.
Atta boy. Look at Jim Poppins' comment on there. He's got the link. So
HTTPS www.brookingschamber.org.
Who reads the HTTPS anymore?
And we're supposed to read it for the podcast, right?
Oh my God. Yo, I'm not reading that. Get out of here. If you're listening on
just podcast, trying to appease the Podfather, okay?
Right. The Podfather, he is watching. He's always watching. And if you don't act properly, you end up in the bottom of the river, the big Sioux River.
I do wish Battle, South Dakota was on the way because it would have been awesome to stop.
I really do.
Battle is nowhere near on the way.
If we take a road trip to UND, though, that's what I'm talking about.
I won't be able to.
Still not on the way.
It can be if you want it to be.
I mean, it's only.
I will be
2 hours to the left.
I will be stopping there, on my way up to Bismarck because next week I got to go to Bismarck for work. So I'm gonna make that happen one way or the other. I'm gonna drive through
Bismarck. It can be on the way.
That's what I'm talking about. We were just talking about UND.
No, Bismarck.
That's north.
UND's in Grand Forks.
Oh yeah,
Good
yeah.
Lord,
No,
what
I
are
was
you
thinking-
even doing? Are you drunk?
I
Are
was
you
thinking
high?
Bismarck.
Are
I
you
don't
high
know
right
why.
now?
I always kind of
UND
thought
is directly
that
north
UND
of Fargo.
was in Bismarck for some reason.
No, that's
There's
Mary.
literally no turns to get to UND or NDSU for that matter.
Is there anything in Bismarck?
The state
the
capital,
capital.
where they have the most hideously ugly Capitol building in the 50 United States.
Right. It's like a
If you haven't
concrete-
seen it, it looks like a tall bunker.
It looks a lot like the Zip feed mill that they couldn't bring down in Sioux Falls.
On
With more
brand for
windows.
North Dakota.
It is hideous.
right.
Sorry, Dustin. The bus I don't think will be running to Texas, but a plane will land in Sioux Falls, and I will have free seats. So if you wanted to get a ride, hop on down. We'll party it up, brother.
Terry's
No,
got
my
the
dad's going to
Fireball.
be coming, so that'll be fun. Yeah, we'll bring some Fireball. Yes, I like it. I like where your head's at, Terry Youngin. My wife's not going to be there to supervise me, so I'll have some Fireball in my system before the podcast. There's no way that goes poorly, Matt. I wouldn't worry
it's
about
gonna
it.
go. It's gonna go so bad.
I don't.
Oh,
I
it's gonna
asked
be awesome.
if
This is
they
gonna be
knew
the
my
best.
track record for games in Fargo, and I was told
It's gonna be
that
incredible.
drinking was okay. So
Hey, what's your streak right now? What's your streak right now?
streak, win
In
one,
Fargo.
win one.
1-0.
That's the streak.
All right.
1-0.
Quit your bitch.
That's all that matters. No, I meant my streak.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Well, that's we've Dallas unfortunately had to witness me at the last one as well. So
I mean, brisket does not look as good the second time.
Yep. Nope. Second time still tasted fine. So whatever. That's not important. Anyways. So Rob Lowney says, I used to work for MDU, the best employer I ever had. And Brad Koenig says he's been to the ND Capitol building, and I am right, and I know I'm right. So, yeah, Ryan, he's even giving me directions. Just take 12 to 83 north for Bismarck. That's my plan, man. I will be buzzing through.
Nice. I am actually going to Bismarck in November, so I think I'll have to do that.
Right. Well,
I'm not going to UND. I'm just going to Bismarck.
The only bad thing, the only bad thing is you have to drive through Aberdeen. So,
well, the worst thing is you're in Bismarck.
Right. Not great.
The Wayne's World skit where, hi, I'm in Delaware. That's kind of what it's like being in Bismarck. Like, hi, I'm in Bismarck.
is that what
That's
Joe
about
and his buddy said every time they got on the pod? Hi, I'm in Delaware.
Right. Terry Youngin says she's banned from Twitter, so she can't get it on the JI hoodie. I'm assuming she's going JI instead of Sports Illustrated. But we'll figure something out to let everybody get in on it. We do the drawing next week if that happens.
Maybe
Let's be honest. We know who you are, Terry.
Add
Put you
people,
on there, sir.
add people in that comment on our Facebook.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. If you comment on the live stream, we'll enter you for it.
There you go.
There we go. I dig it.
Perfect.
All
right. We need
back
move
to
on.
the Vermin game. I mean,
Well,
game.
Before we get really deep into that game,
Yes.
we're gonna recap the picks from last week.
Oh, wait. One more thing. We were talking about me stopping at Drake's place. I ate at Brookings Culver's on yesterday.
Did you?
And yeah, I had to have a butter burger because I got a double butter burger even because I would assume that would double our chances of getting a 50 butter burger possibly this week. I don't see any way that can be bad luck. Possibly you.
Did you get cheese curds on the side too?
No, I got fries with
onion
the beer
rings?
cheese sauce.
Oh, beer cheese sauce.
How about the
I did not
Did you know they have
about
that?
No.
You got to get the cheddar sauce with the fries.
Okay.
And they don't short you with like a little like barbecue sauce size one. That thing's big, and so you get plenty. And dip your fries in it, baby. That stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
So, yep. Ryan Jensen says he's disappointed. He has to be. I am assuming he didn't mean obvious.
miss?
He's
I think he meant
got
miss.
a case of the Chad.
Case of the autocorrect. You're only allowed to make these sort of typos in garage time here, Ryan, man.
And some people will never let you forget it.
No, never. No, I don't know if you're aware, Chad, but the Rev, Dustin Helton, is doing his damnedest to make that an FCS wide thing where they use it on the wax on him and Will Siller.
And I don't know if you're aware of it, but my wife is fully on board with the gift that was made. She thinks it's the best thing ever.
I'm gonna put a T-shirt out. I got to put that T-shirt on JI of Garage Time, and I might enlist
my head on Peter Griffin's
body,
yes,
with Garage Time,
because that's what Ryan wants.
Can we make that happen?
That'd be amazing.
Only if Ryan will buy one.
You designed the Podfather flag, so
I think we can get there.
Yep, awesome.
All right.
Now we're back on track.
Unless, I mean, do we have time to recap the picks from last week? We don't have to.
We can.
I mean, we should at least go over the overall.
I don't know that they even counted because they were on Twitter. They weren't live during the show.
Yeah, let's just go over how we did, not necessarily pick for pick.
I don't want to do that either.
Why? Because I beat you?
Yeah. Well,
I know we both had an awful week, but I think I beat you by one.
The good news is I only lost one pick to you. The bad news is I went 0-5.
I knew there was a reason.
That's a real shame. I feel badly for you.
0-5. So I commented when I made my picks, I was like, this feels a little chalky. I picked every favorite thinking that they would take care of business. Every single underdog covered. Every single one.
Sure did.
Yeah. UND was underdog. They ended up beating Missouri State outright. Youngstown State was an underdog. They ended up hanging in there. Northern Iowa didn't cover against Indiana State. And Southern Illinois did not cover against Illinois State. And then obviously SDSU did not cover against Western Illinois. So, that's fantastic. Going 0-5 feels great. It's great for my confidence.
Feels good to me. Am I up 1 or 2 games? Am I up 2 games on you now or 3?
I am 16-22. You're 18-20.
It feels good.
Yeah.
Kept this.
So that was pretty gross. Beware the underdog in the Missouri Valley, I guess. I mean, it's kind of an indication of how, we've kind of talked about it. And Chad, if you want to bring up the Missouri Valley standings now, we've kind of talked about how, there's after the top 2 or 3, there's not a whole lot of separation there. There's, and what I certainly didn't see is Missouri State's downfall. I mean, after their Arkansas game, did you think they'd lose the next 2 games?
No.
Especially the way they lost to UND. They lost 48-31.
Mm-hmm. I did not think they would go into UND and put that sort of performance out there because UND has not been – don't get me wrong, Missouri State scored plenty of points, but UND just put up more points. Was Missouri State's defense that bad? I don't know. But I think it does prove that UND is, in fact, still UND, and they are a lot tougher in Grand Forks than they are on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think is why there is a separation between the top 2 and then the next 2 or 3.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think at this point, if you can pull those standings back up, you can probably say there's a top 2 and then another.
Did you read Dustin's comment?
No, I can't see him.
He said, Mo State fell faster than Petrino on a motorcycle.
I love it.
Was there anyone with him, or do we have to wait for the news reports to come out on that?
So, I think obviously there's a top 2 in NDSU and SDSU, and then you've got Southern Illinois, who, after a bit of a rough start, is now looking pretty good. They're 2-0 in the conference, 3-2 overall. And then you've got UND and UNI at 2-1 in the conference. Mm-hmm. And then you get a bunch of winless conference teams. So it'll be interesting to see how the bottom of the conference plays out. But yeah, right now, we kind of talked about how this could be a year where the Valley only gets 4 teams in.
And that's because the bottom of the conference is just not pulling their weight.
Right. Yeah, right. Well, and the bottom
that's the difference.
The bottom is bigger than it has been. I mean, usually the bottom's 1 or 2. Now it's like there's like 4 or 5 team, maybe 6 in the Valley.
You can draw the line underneath Northern Iowa, and that's
what I mean. Like there's 6 teams that right now don't have a win, and we'll see how it goes. But right now it's like, I don't know if any of those teams have a chance at the playoffs anymore.
No, generally speaking, unless they pull off some large upsets. Honestly, from that group, I'd say South Dakota and Missouri State are maybe the best. South Dakota is probably in best shape to make a run at a playoff spot because they'll have the 2 really tough games out of the way. They get Southern Illinois at home. So they have the best shot if they upset us. Missouri State, man, they got Southern Illinois. They got to go to USD where they play way better at home as well. They would be the other one maybe out of that batch that I would look at. The dark horse I would pick from there is maybe Youngstown State, but nobody else. Indiana State, Illinois State, honestly, Northern Iowa. I don't see any of those teams making the playoffs.
Yeah. Somebody pointed out it's not going to be a 6-5 Missouri Valley team in the playoffs this year. South Dakota has one caveat to their schedules. They've had a wicked hard strength of schedule. So they at least have that going for them. Missouri State has the FBS win. But other than that, the other teams, they're going to be.
Southern Illinois has the FBS win.
I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Southern Illinois.
Yep.
My bad.
So anyway, that's where the Missouri Valley is at right now as far as conference standings go. And then if you want to bring up the top 25 quick, Chad.
Yep.
Let's see where we're sitting there.
Give me a second.
I'm disappointed I missed out on voting on it this week because the vote got out late at Sunday night and I was just slammed all Monday.
I believe
you know where I was working at? I was working at the Sanford USD Medical Center. And if it wasn't my first week on the job actually doing stuff, I would have wore one of the old Jackrabbit hats in there, but probably would have been safer than anything, honestly, because I was in the pharmacy. So, those are all SDSU folks anyways.
Right.
That's tiny.
Yeah, not anymore. It's bigger now.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got NDSU at 1, SDSU at 3. Montana's still sitting at number 2. You got Montana State and then Sac State, which the Big Sky is interesting right now. You've also got Weber State at number 7. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out because there's a lot of, I think they're more, I would say at this point, they have more teams that are looking good than the Valley does.
Yes. They have more high-end teams for sure.
Right.
Than the Valley does. And generally speaking, at this point of the season, if somebody has any order of those top 7 teams in any order, as long as there's a followable path of logic to it, then I'm cool with it. I take issue, like I gave Lawrence Smith a hard time on Twitter because he had SDSU all the way down at 5. And then he had Weber and Montana State above us. And his justification was, well, they both look better against UC Davis. You could argue Weber and our game, but whatever. But he kept Montana at number 2 after they just escaped Idaho State. So that didn't really follow logic. And that's where I have an issue there. If your logic, you only use logic on certain teams and then you just have another team up top and they're not named NDSU because at this point, I get it. They've won enough to make us puke over and over again. Keep them at 1, I get it. But like Montana, I get it if somebody has them over them, but your logic better be even across the board to do that. That's my personal opinion on that.
Yeah,
that's all going to get sorted out soon.
I don't mind seeing Montana State above us right now, but Montana's kind of silly based on who they played this year.
Right, they played nobody and had a tight one with Idaho, but then you go and use UC Davis against us, and it's like, well,
right.
Let's all play on the same playing field here. But like Rob Lowney says, it's all going to play itself out. And he's right.
That's right. The rest of the top 25 for Missouri Valley, anyway, you've got Southern Illinois moving up to 18, Missouri State moving down to number 20, and then UND popping in at 23. So we've got 5 in the top 25 right now, which is, only, in the top 18, there's only 3, which is kind of weird for Missouri Valley Conference, who normally we're sitting at 3 or 4 in the top 10
at this point of the season for sure.
Right. So yeah, it's just kind of a weird year for the Valley at this point.
And shout out to the Rev, who caught a bunch of strays after he made our hype video for the Wax On podcast. He said his poll would have been SDSU, NDSU, the Grizz, and Montana State. And he even came on the big FCS Fans Nation pod and brought that up. And fought valiantly for that cause. And so we appreciate you, Rev. But just want to point that out for the folks out there that are throwing him some flack. He's not the guy who was the one on the hype video. He was the one watching that guy talk.
The Rev is awesome. All right. Well, let's quickly get through the other Missouri Valley games, and then we'll preview the USD game. NDSU goes to Indiana State. NDSU is favored by 26.5 in that one. I'm going to take Indiana State. Unlike us in this game, they don't have as much motivation as we do. So I think that they are looking ahead a little bit to our game just because of the way that we've played against them in the past 2 years. Yep. And so I'll take Indiana State covering 26.5 here.
I also am going to take Indiana State to cover on that one for one reason only. Indiana State's only given up 112 rushing yards per game. And I think at this point, it's been pretty well established. NDSU has borderline made themselves one-dimensional. So if you can slow down the running game like Youngstown State was capable of doing a little bit, you can hang with them. So I am also going to take the Trees.
Abdicating to sprinkle a little on the Trees money line here?
I don't feel that good about it. I wouldn't bet it with my money, but that's the pick I would make.
Yeah. And then we've got Southern Illinois going to Missouri State, which will be an interesting game. Southern Illinois has been playing really well. Missouri State's lost the last 2. Southern Illinois is favored by 2 there. I don't know how you pick anything other than Southern Illinois -2 at this point, just with the way they've looked and how Missouri State's looked. After a strong start, they've kind of looked out of sorts, and I think with all the transfers we talked about with them, that maybe it's catching up to them in terms of not having that, good team, I guess gel in terms of keeping things together.
Yeah. The only reason that I would even argue for picking Missouri State is you're believing that Bobby Petrino's good enough to turn that around and that their talent's going to come through. But like you said, they've got so many transfers. Southern Illinois was able to turn all their transfers around. But like Dustin says, fear the Sock Lukey fears no man. So not even Joe De Leon. So go ahead and give me the Salukis all day until the Sock Lukey finally perishes.
That's right. And then you've got Illinois State going to Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa's a 9-point favorite here. I'll take Illinois State. I just don't have a whole lot of faith in Northern Iowa's offense, and I think Illinois State hangs in there to lose by 7 or something like that.
See, that's interesting that you say that because if we look, I only say this because I was farting around with stats and everything for the Valley.
Northern Iowa's pretty inflated.
Who do you think's averaging the most yards per game?
I'm sure it's Northern Iowa.
Northern Iowa. How many do you think it is?
It's probably 350 or something stupid.
409 yards a game.
Jesus.
And Illinois State sucks out loud. So I'm actually going to go on a limb, and I'm going to take the Panthers on this one.
I don't know. I mean, they only put up 20 against Indiana State.
Illinois State's averaging 19 points a game, which is really low. I mean, we're averaging 27. Missouri State's 27. Northern Iowa's 28. North Dakota's averaging 28. Southern Illinois is averaging 29. And then NDSU, because of a couple other games, are averaging 37.
Yeah. We'll see. So you're taking you got faith in UNI to cover 9?
I am willing to get hurt by them one last time. I'm ready to be hurt again. They hurt me last week, so.
All right. If you can't tell, my picks are a bit skewed towards the underdogs since I got
somebody feels a certain way. You picked Southern Illinois, their favorite.
Well, 2 underdogs, which is a lot more than I normally pick. And then you've got UND is a 2.5-point favorite at Youngstown State. Cannot pick the underdog here. I'll take UND. I think this is an easy pick.
Yeah, at 2.5 points, I would be almost willing to lay a 50 Butterburger on it. So give me the Postal Service in that game. 2.5 points is just nuts.
Yeah, I don't understand that spread at all. And then we've come to the SDSU game. We are obviously playing USD. These picks, again, are brought to you by Culver's. They're also brought to you by Shenanigans Pub, which if for the NDSU game coming up, obviously for the USD game, get to Brookings. If it happens to sell out, then go to Shenanigans to watch it.
Right.
For the NDSU game, definitely, if you can't go on the Retain the Rock tailgate, go to Shenanigans to watch the game. Definitely the best spot to watch away games.
Yeah, if you want to go and have a party, like Shenanigans is the place for an SDSU. You want like an SDSU party, Shenanigans is the place. They're awesome setup. They still put up the tent inside, I think, the Jackrabbits tent. And Sioux Empire Staters and everybody are there. So head on down there and have a good time if you don't make it to the game.
So we've got SDSU is favored by 12 in this one. One thing I was surprised by is the total. The total is only 42.5 points. Which,
well, if you look at this, USD is averaging just over 15 points a game, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. I know they played a really tough schedule. Kansas State looks really good, but it's only averaging 15 points per game right now is pretty wild. The other thing is they like to lean into their run game a little more than they like to lean into their passing game. So they're averaging like 140 yards rushing a game, 4 yards carry right now, 4.1. Sorry. But our rush defense is insane. We held Western Illinois to 0.9 yards of rush. That's just batty. So I'm curious if they try to pass. We talk about our pass defense a little bit, but the interesting thing is in defensive pass efficiency, we are actually second in the conference at a 115.0. The lower that number is, the better. NDSU is the only one above us, and they're considered to have a pretty good pass defense, and it's a pass efficiency of 110.1. So our defense is just super salty. 12 is a hard line. It is a hard line in this game with what's going to be riding on the line. It's going to depend on how much of an attitude the Hogs have, I think.
Yeah, I have a lot of confidence in us in this game because they rely on the run, and our defense is insanely good at stopping the run.
Right.
I think we are going to try to make Carson Camp beat us. And I don't think he's going to do that. I think he is much more comfortable using his legs than he is throwing the ball. And so, in my opinion, I'll take SDSU in the spread here, just because I think we win by in that 13 to 17 point range. I think I'm pretty confident about there.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the ones, maybe we salted away in the second half after leaning on them. For me, an interesting thing for me listening to the FCS Fans Nation, Overlord, the Big Boys podcast, as they call it sometimes. Our friend of the pod, Joshua Hoffman, asked them, when does SDSU finally give up 100 yards rushing in a game, which hasn't happened yet. And Kyler Neal, our good buddy, came out and said he said this week he thinks it's happening this week. And Nielsen has been, they've been more effective with Nielsen. They did keep with NDSU, but part of that was A, being at home, and B, getting some good turnovers to help them out in that game. So really, I'm going to go ahead and take the Jackson this one, to be honest with it. I don't know. I think it's more of it's going to be a one-score game, and then we have a late score to just finally put it out of reach. All of our blood pressure is going to be way too high at the end of the game. But there's a real possibility they come in here and shock us again. But boy, are the boys motivated.
What's interesting is I was gonna say that the last time when we played them last year, that they actually had some success on the ground against us, but they actually only had 134 yards rushing,
right?
Which it was surprising to me. They had actually quite a bit of passing yards. 288. So I think we may have had that same kind of attitude in that game, saying, let's make Carson Camp beat us. Granted, they got 60 of those yards on the last play of the game, but
right.
Yeah, I guess I have a faith in our defense. I think our defense is playing extremely well. I think our offense is hitting its stride. I think we win the game 34-17.
I'm not picking a score. You know better.
Oh, I know. But
okay.
What I do think is that I think that total is too low. I think that we are out for blood, and I think we score at least 28 by ourselves. And then at that point, all they need to do is score more than 14. So unless our defense really shuts them down.
My biggest thing is I want the defense to show up and make a big point. And especially, I mean, if anybody is really taking this hard, having to see that replay over and over and over again, it's got to be somebody on the defense. I mean, that's got to hit you right in your soul every time you see that. So I think the defense is going to come out to prove a point. Somebody made a good point. I think the way that they get over 100 is if Camp scrambles for a bunch of yards. And I think that'll depend on whether we respect his legs like we did Shelley's and have a spy on him a lot, because Baga's just that freakishly fast. He can catch any quarterback. So, yeah, if we don't respect him, I could see him getting a couple cheap 15, 20-yard runs on 3rd and long that ends up giving him over 100 yards rushing. That's my concern.
Right. Do we get anyone back this week? I don't know the answer to that question. Do you guys have any insight there?
No, I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of. And I haven't noticed anything about Hines' status either, which is of great concern, I think, to be down to that, because I believe one of the highlights Stig has shown, we had on one of our goal line plays, we had a defensive end playing tight end because we're out of them. So that's not good for a tight end predicated offense.
Yeah, for sure. Terry says Kraft is still 2 weeks out. Yeah, I'm guessing I would highly doubt if we see him for the NDSU game. It'd be awesome to see him for it, but he's still in the boot. So they were kind of showing him on the sideline last game. Hopefully he comes back soon, though.
Flex is very desperate for us to talk about SEMO. But it's, no, I did not see the stats on Hess from SEMO. I'm actually going to look up quick who they played, to be honest. I think they're a solid team, but I don't think they're like, it depends what you mean by a run. We played Lindenwood,
Right.
50 250 yards. It's Lindenwood. When SDSU played Lindenwood, it was 52 to 10 last year.
Something like that.
And that was honestly letting off the gas pretty hard. So I wouldn't get too hyped up about a game against Lindenwood.
They're still in transition, so we have to.
They're still in transition.
You're gonna crush Flex's dreams.
Yeah, sorry, man. But I do think they're capable of winning a game. Maybe making the quarterfinals. Depending on their matchup, maybe. But Dustin's coming off the top rope. Lindenwood's hot garbage. I was going to be nice.
No.
There's actually.
I think he's saying it's hot garage.
It's hot garage, right? We are in garage time, so nothing we say counts anymore. Say whatever you want.
Post boys. 1 hour.
It is garage time. Excellent, most excellent. Even Murray State isn't dark horse. No
more than Lindenwood.
Murray State would be a super dark horse because I would quite literally need to change my pants if they made the playoffs somehow now. There ain't no way in hell. Yeah, wait for the playoffs. Just wait. Oh, buddy, you don't even know.
They did beat Southern Illinois. They got that going for them.
They did. Yep.
They did beat Southern Illinois. There is a difference.
That win's looking better and better.
It is looking better and better. It's going to look really good. No, Dustin, we're not going to run longer than the Wax Sun. You guys went for like an hour and 50 minutes, so you just calm your tatas there. How about that?
I'll give them the wrap it up sign right here. And then it's all
no,
over.
Where's the GIF? We need the garage time GIF.
I don't know. It doesn't exist in my lexicon.
Should be a fun game this week, though. I'm excited to see a huge crowd. Loud, raucous crowd. I don't want one of these big, quiet ones. So we'll see what happens. I'll believe it when I see it, Dustin. I haven't looked yet today. I heard it's out though, because I heard that you told me to suck it. So
I do like Randy Jacobs' comment. Remind the Yote fan the game's outside. He needs to bring sunscreen.
He's got a good point. Thank you, Randy. I will put that on Twitter so that I can remind them because
remind him.
Definitely Brendan needs to let him know. So I will.
And no ransacking other people's stuff when the game started.
Yeah, don't be trash, people.
Yeah,
don't to our fans. I know that's not what a lot of our fans do. But bad events have happened both. So. Right. Bad events have happened both ways, though, in the past. Don't be trash. Don't be shitty to Yote fans. We like talking crap and giving them a hard time, but don't be a shitbag.
Don't be like the 50-year-old guy that's tried to pick a fight with me in front of his family last year.
Right.
USD fan after the game. Yeah, man.
Right. I mean, I genuinely don't expect a lot of them. Let them, it's kind of like, they preach on the football field. The second guy's the one who gets caught. So don't respond. It's not worth it. It's really not worth it. It's not the rep. It's not worth the rep you give the fan base when stuff like that happens. The coolest thing for me when we played Butler, one of the parents came up to me and Chad and said, I've been to like 50 different stadiums and I have never been treated this well in my life at any of the stadiums. And that is something to really be proud of and to keep up.
Yeah, that felt as good as a win, didn't it? I mean,
honestly. It was huge. Yeah. That felt really good.
So, kudos, Jackrabbit Nation. Keep up that.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Take the high road and make them feel crappy about being Vermilion fans.
And if you get the bird, just go, hey, we are number one. You're right.
Hey, somebody told us we were number one down at the dome last year. I think it was someone on the field, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I distinctly remember.
Probably.
That.
He didn't have near the mustache as Pedro Horny last week from Western Illinois. That guy had a mustache that would blow your mind. Anyways. So I think it's about that time, boys.
Yep. As always, we'll see everybody at the game on Saturday. And go big, go blue, go Jacks.
Go Jacks.